Welcome to Live, Laugh, Talk. I'm your host, James Graham, and it's a privilege to be in your ear. In this episode, we will begin with the topic entitled For the Love of Money. Then we will transition to our segment, How Do We Get Here? Followed by our Hobbies and Special Interest section, and then conclude with our sunflower message, which is our happy note for the day. If you have any ideas, maybe a show idea, send it to us at admin@livelaughtalk.com. In addition, if listening on Spotify, you can add a voice memo as well as comments and participate in our poll. Also, wherever you listen to the podcast, please follow us so that you're notified of the new episodes when they're released. The topic that we will begin with is entitled For the Love of Money. As we get into the subject about the love of money, we have with us in studio a guest, and you know how we love our guests in the studio. We have Miko with us today, and I'm going to allow her to tell us a little bit about herself, and we're going to do our usual. We're going to have a fun question and ask her a couple of things, and then she and I both are going to get into the subject together. So Miko, tell us about yourself.
Yes, hello. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Um, Let me see. I am retired military. I've done 17 years active duty, 6 years reserve. I am dibbling and dabbling in writing a new book. So it's my first book that I'm be writing. And I am a stay-at-home grandmother.
Wow. Well, we expect big things from you with the book and all. I'm really looking forward to that. And the grandmom part. That is awesome. I've been trying to figure out how to have the grandkids without ever having kids. Haven't figured that out yet, but I'm working on it.
Don't.
So a fun question. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Oh man, like growing up, me and my sisters, I got two sisters, and we used to play dress up, get dressed up, put on my grandmother's wig and some old clothes and get out in front of them and do our little dances and singing to my mom's old records and just have a ball.
That sounds like a lot of fun. You know, I used to do little sing-alongs with my sister, but she's so much more talented than me. It was kind of like, why am I in the room? So, but,
Uh,
but yeah, she has all the talent. But I bet do we have any videos? We got anything from the past that we
oh
can see?
no, I do have photos though.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we're gonna have to get those from
Oh no, we not gonna look at those.
you. We're not gonna post them online.
Oh no, 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 no.
So, just one more question: what's a typical day for you? What is that like?
So it's a basic day. I am retired, so I usually start my day with meditation. Though I try to keep myself pretty much abreast with all the information that's going on in the world, trying to keep up with, ooh, especially because of the wars that's possible that might happen, and just a lot of things that go on. I like to be very informed, so I try to keep up with those things. I'm very supportive with raising my grandkids, so I'm helping my daughter out a lot with that. And then, as I stated, I am a new author, so I do spend a lot of time, working on my book and in one form or another.
I love it. I love every aspect of that. I mean, that's a day well filled right
Mhm.
there. So that's beautiful. And like I said, we look forward to that day when the book drops. And in the meantime, all of the great things you're doing. And I know the grandkids, they're just eating it up.
Yes, they are.
Eating it up. But you know, you and I, we were actually talking about this subject just in a conversation yesterday. You and me just having one of our usuals. Now we started talking about how this world is changing, like the attitudes of people, and it's about money. And you know, we even mentioned the scriptures there where it says, and we mentioned the misquote first, where people say, you know, money is the root of all evil.
Mm,
But in actuality, that's not what it says, right? It
right.
says it says the love of money being the root of evil or all sorts of injurious things, as one translation puts it. And so That's the actual truth. It's the love of money. And how have you seen this? I know we had our conversation, but unfortunately, the podcast world wasn't there. How have you seen this in your daily life, or in things that you may have seen on television or heard from individuals? How have you seen the love of money just ruining people's lives?
I mean, it's true. The love of money is just it breaks down relationships, family relationships, marriages, um, even that mother daughter or sister brother relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hollywood has gone just
It's just mad,
yes,
just
just
crazy.
bad with everything that's going on as far as especially I mean everybody talks about all of the um what is it? The rituals and stuff you see, but a lot of times they get caught up in that based off of the love of money.
And that's something. That is crazy. And then what about like our music? I mean, we see
Ugh,
in music. I mean, when I was coming up, and you had the MCs bragging on they had this or that, it was more of a swag type of thing. It was, and when they were talking about this, it was the things they had. Didn't cost a whole lot of money. I got my Jeep, I got my girl, I got my. But nowadays, I mean, have you listened to some of this music lately and what some of these people are saying?
yes. Have you paid attention to these videos they putting out?
Yes. The videos are all about money and drip and all of it. It's better to have money than talent. And
Right.
when I listen to the lyrics, that's when I get sick because, and I've even mentioned on this podcast before that I listened to a podcast that was both educational and ignorant at the same time.
Hmm.
And the reason why I can say that is because I actually learned how some people think. And I've seen it in the videos, I've seen it heard it in these podcasts. I've just heard all this kind of stuff where if a person don't have money, they can't get with me. If you're not paying my bills, if you're not taking care of this, if you're not doing that, then you can't. It's to me, it sounds like high dollar prostitution. I mean, what if am I out of am I out of my mind here, or they?
No, I mean, when you're in a relationship, it should be based on that's you should have that emotional connection. It should be
Yes,
based on how much somebody makes or and I'm not saying that's not important because
right,
we got to live, but
exactly,
every person is different. With me, I'm not basing my relationship off of what you can do for me.
right,
That's just not important for me. If we don't have that emotional connection, and it might be because I'm older now. You know what I'm saying? I've done all those things, but I can also say even back then, I wasn't looking for that. You know
right,
what I'm saying? When I got married, when I got engaged, it was never about what someone could do for me or what they had. It was always about that emotional connection.
right. And I don't even know if it's an age thing because we're seeing people our age on television and these reality shows saying and doing the same thing. You
Yeah.
know, so I don't know if it's I just think it's a generational thing where now all of a sudden, as you mentioned, emotional connections, they're not important. And that's the reason why we see the rates of divorces going up. We also see that people aren't getting married. Like we talked about once before in the podcast, that I wonder how Kays and Jared stay in business. There's no engagement rings anymore because now it's not about emotional connections. It's not about love. It's not about the butterflies that you feel and all of that kind of thing. It's about what can you do for me? We're
Right.
prioritizing financial gain over love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you think about love, I mean, if you haven't had those butterflies that I mentioned, if your heart doesn't go pitter patter when someone calls you or you see their number on your phone or they walk by you, you really haven't lived.
True. That is so true. Being in love is a wonderful thing. It's undescribable, really. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Once you've been in love, you know what that is. If you've never been in love, you just don't know. You have to love is about sacrifices and compromises.
It is. And there's so many of them, but it's rich and it's rewarding.
Yeah.
Unlike money, let me ask you a question. Do you know any millionaires?
Do I know any? No, I don't.
I do. I do know a few millionaires, but
Okay.
you possibly know some folks who are well off. We'll
Oh
put it.
yeah,
They
yeah.
they they
Very well
doing
off.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now those who are millionaires, or even the ones you may see on television, they were millionaires and things like that. Do they look happy to you?
I think that's the problem. People think when you have money, you know what I'm saying, that makes a for a great relationship because oh, if things aren't going well, we can just go take a vacation, or I can buy this person something to make them happy. No, that's
Mm-mm.
that's not how it
No.
works. You know what I'm saying? If
Mm-mm.
if you're unhappy, you know, there's nothing somebody can give you material wise that's going to make that go away.
Right.
And I always say, you have to be careful what you wish for because you can have the greatest relationship and it looks wonderful from the outside, but and you got this big beautiful house and car and things, but you go home and he beating you down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or he's
Exactly.
cheating on you. Or it's 110, or he's controlling. You can't
Right.
do.
Right. And
So
that's what's
So
sad.
you have to be really careful, when it comes to things like that, what you wish for in your life or what because those people, they may look happy on the outside, but you don't know what they got going on.
Exactly. Exactly. I bet if you were a fly on the wall, you'd be surprised at what go on inside those $1 million mansions
Right.
because you don't see individuals who are uber successful,
Mm.
happy. We've had so many movie stars and others who have taken their lives just
And
recently.
I was just about to bring that up about the
Mm.
suicidal rate. You know what I'm saying? People,
Mm-hmm.
people who have a lot of money, they never said or they can just go do this. You remember Robin Williams? That
No,
was
I
such
still suffer
a
with that.
That was such a that's a comedian. You never saw that coming. That man had
Mm-mm.
money and everything else, but money is not everything.
No, no. What he didn't have was happiness. He was missing it.
Right.
And although we had adoration for him,
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't see it. He couldn't feel it. In that moment of his life, he just felt like he didn't want to live anymore. So all the money in the world
Mm-hmm.
didn't buy him another day of happiness. And we look at even like individuals like Steve Jobs. I mean, just a genius, just a brain. And we lost him to cancer, unfortunately. But all the money in the world didn't heal him. He had everything. He had all the money, all the technology, all the everything,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing. As a matter of fact, he said he would give it all up if he could just have another day. And that's so when we think about money in the literal sense, what does it buy us? Because it doesn't buy us happiness, it can't buy us a loving relationship, and it can't give us life. So what does it do?
More money. But what is it? More money, more problems.
Exactly. Biggie put it best. Well, I don't know if Biggie put it best or the OJs put it best. Because when I go back and I think about it, and I'm not afraid to quote the music on this show. Everybody out here know this. When we go back and we think about what the OJs said, I like the way they put it that some people gotta have it, some people really need it. But
Mm-hmm.
listen to me, they do bad things with it. They
Yeah.
do bad things, he said.
Yes.
They'll steal from their mother,
Yeah.
rob their own brother.
Mm.
Then went on to say women would give up their precious body. And isn't that what we see today? That's just what we were talking about with these videos and music and
Mm-hmm.
other. And some people even getting into the industry. I know you had an experience because you've been around the industry as well. You want to, mention that?
No, I was just telling you, earlier that when I haven't done any acting because just watching all of this stuff, and now that I'm retired and I have time to sit around and really pay attention to things, um I decided not to actually pursue it, but in getting involved in it and signing up for it, doing all the paperwork and things, they ask you questions like, how much do you want this? Why would you ask me something like that on the application? Much do I want? What is the response you're looking for? And it's like, from 1 to 10, how much do you really want this?
Mm,
So,
mm.
to me, that's like you picking and choosing. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
some people may take that and say, well, no, they just really want to know who's serious about it. No, it goes a lot deeper than that.
Oh
Trust.
yeah.
It's definitely deeper than just who's really serious, because those actors and singers and rappers out there, they giving up a part of themselves to have the money that they have. And like we discussed earlier, when I look back on the actors and singers and things, those people came from nothing. They made sure they picked the right people that are really desperate.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And then we see the results of that because we've seen like these mega producers and others who we were thinking they were legitimate people, and they've done unimaginable things
Mm,
to up and coming actresses and actors, and they stay in the courts. I mean, we see, we don't have to mention the names, we know who they are, and the things that they did to people who were, like you said, they had nothing, so they picked them out. They were victims. It was like low hanging fruit,
mm,
and they just jumped in there and just pounced on them. And it's sad. I remember, and I spoke of earlier, how my sister, she's a real singer. I just say, like, real, because some people we see, they get popular. We wonder, well, I mean, it must have been a good day in the studio because they can't really sing. But my sister, she's one of those people that you can turn all the music off. Let's go a cappella. Well, she had this opportunity to
mhm,
meet George Benson. And so she was, at this concert, and she had a chance to go backstage. They got on a common ground, had a wonderful conversation. And George Benson looked at her and said, run from this industry.
mm,
Don't get involved. He said the things that's behind the scenes, the things that these people will do to you, you can't even imagine what would happen. And I know where he's coming from, because she's not only a talent, but she's a beauty like yourself,
mm,
and so he's looking at this beautiful young lady and thinking, wow, she gets in the music industry, they're going to literally rape her, possibly. So he
mm.
told her to run, and she did. But and,
That's
and
good.
I think that it's a waste that we have so many talented people that really we don't get a chance to hear them. Like my sister, we don't get a chance to hear her. Now we do have streaming services and things like that, so that's great. But beforehand, you had to go to a studio to even be heard, and so many people like her that we've never got a chance to hear, or even some artists that they made one album and it was a hit, and then they ran away, and we're like, where are they now? Because
Mm-hmm.
they just ran away from this industry because of what that love of money and that love of fame can do to a person.
Yes, yes.
It's so sad. And then we see the fraud, the corruption, the exploitation we mentioned of others, the illegal activities. Like we had the Murtaugh family, in which money became the end all for this man, to the point that he killed his own child and his wife for money.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so even trying to, they had money, but even trying to maintain can
Mm-hmm.
sometimes bring about unimaginable stress and anxiety to individuals. And even, when you start getting to that level, you begin, when you need money so bad, or you want money so bad, or you want what you see in social media. I think social media is dangerous
Yeah.
because individuals see folks living these lives and they want that life.
Right. And they don't know what those people are doing behind the scenes to have that life.
Exactly. So, I mean, a strong attachment to money, when money becomes the end all, and you begin to foster a materialistic attitude, there's no end to what you'll do. We saw that with Murtaugh, where he would kill. But also, what about those that don't kill? What about those who we see on a daily basis? We see marriages break
Mm-hmm.
up over money.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somebody makes a lot of money in the marriage, and then they become the eye candy of other people. So people start coming into the marriage. Or there's people that they're married to somebody and they feel like, well, this person can't bring me the kind of life I want, so they get up and leave that marriage to go get with somebody else. it's so sad that we
And it
see
is.
this type.
Because you think that that's what you want, but it's really not. I
No,
think as human beings, we all crave affection. We
right,
all crave, we want to be with somebody in some, you know, form or fashion.
right.
But the money does not bring you that warmth.
No,
It
no,
just
it doesn't. It doesn't. I agree with you. You know what happens is money and materialistic attitudes and wealth become the measure of somebody's self-worth. They
doesn't.
start to believe, well, I ain't nobody if I don't have. And again, like this ignorant podcast I listen to, she's like, well, if you don't have $100,000 in the bank account, kill yourself. What?
Mm, mm,
You
mm.
know, that's where your mind is. You know, you're not
But what,
concerned about.
did she have $100,000 in the bank account?
I guarantee you she don't. Matter of fact, as I
Oh,
kept listening to the podcast, I come to learn that she like worked at some convenience store, and then she worked at, I think it was like CVS or Walmart or something like that. You know,
mm-hmm.
she's basically living a normal person's life. But to date her, you gotta have all this extravagant this and that. So the mind is gone. That's what I'm saying. Like the mindset leads these people into shallow and unfulfilling lives. Because if that's all she's looking for in a man, there's plenty of men out there with
I
money.
did.
There's plenty of them out there with money, but what will they do with that money? There's some of them out there that's buying people and trafficking people and all kind of. So, do you really want to get with people like that?
Right, right.
So it's just harmful. The thought of it, the mindset of the people, and for us, I guess as we get to the conclusion of this conversation, and feel free to chime in if you think of anything. But I start to think that money, as the Bible helped us to see, money in itself is not inherently bad. Because as you mentioned earlier, we got to pay our bills. We got
Right.
to take care of things. So we need money. I mean,
Mm.
that's how we're going to get along without it. But it's that love of it. It's where it gets to the point that it's no longer serving our basic needs or achieving goals or even contributing to society. It's none of that. It's
Mm.
excessive love or the attachment of ourselves to money that can have a detrimental effect on the individuals and the world around. I mean, everybody around you suffers when that's your mindset.
Yeah.
And
And you got billionaires out there who have all this money. What do you need billions of dollars for?
you don't.
What?
You
Why
don't.
when you got people buying islands? What you need an island? No. Yeah, yeah.
Once you get to having certain things and start expecting certain things, you get to the point that even when you look back on yourself, you're like, really? I was like that. That was me.
Mhm.
I had to have a whole island.
Yeah, I had to have a whole island.
you
Like
know,
that's too
you know,
much.
I couldn't drive a Chevrolet. I mean, I had to have a $300,000 car. I mean, that's what I had to do. Once you start looking at yourself in that mirror, and honestly, those folks who've already achieved that, they look at themselves in that mirror every day, and they're not happy. None of the stuff brings
Because
any
they
bit of
want
happiness.
to make you happy. So then when it doesn't, then you're like, okay, well, this didn't make me happy because I'm at this stage. So I need even more money. Get more money, and you're like, dang, I still, I'm sure once I get to this level though, and each level you climb, you realize, first of all, it's lonely at the top.
It sure is.
It's lonely at the top because you're up there by yourself. It ain't a whole lot of people up there with you.
It sure is. I like what you told me yesterday. You mentioned, you say, well, because people who have $1 million, they can't sleep because they don't have $1 billion. The
Right,
more you
right.
get, the more you
The
want.
more you get, the more you want. It's a never ending circle.
Exactly. And then these people, if we analyze them, they're some lonely folks. We
Mm.
look at them; they don't have a relationship, or they got a bunch of kids out of wedlock. And I mean, they are some pitiful people. When we stop and we analyze them, but we idolize them at the same time. Oh, I want to be like him. I want to have these millions and billions. But what we have to do, honestly, is we got to find a balance between financial success and
Hmm.
other aspects of life so that we can maintain overall well-being, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We need to be sane. We need to
Yeah.
have an appropriate amount of money to pay our bills and do what we have to do. But by the same token, we want to make sure that we balance ourselves so that we don't go way off the
Right, right. Make sure that, we living first of all, make sure that we living within our means
end. Amen to that.
and not live above your means just to, for the just because somebody else is looking at you. Why do people think that anyway? You know what I'm saying? Like that people are really
Honestly,
about how they live in life. I'm too worried about what I got going on in my life and trying to do things right over here to be worried about if you got this or if you got that, what kind of car you driving or what kind of house you in.
exactly. Because
Because whatever you have, it can't affect me in my household. Because the car you driving, I can't drive it. I got to figure out what I'm doing in my car.
exactly.
I, I can't live in it. So all that's about, like you said, admiration. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's
Admiration.
yes.
Get it. And observing it too much on
Hmm.
social media, sitting there looking at all these other people. And then these people honestly never show you their bad day. These folks don't ever have a bad day. All they do is wake up, spend more money, get more money, do more things with money, and they just every day is a ball. And if you are a logical person, you know that's not the case. When that camera shuts off, they got problems just like everybody else.
Like,
Maybe even more so, because like you quoted Biggie, more money, more problems.
mm-hmm.
So we have to prioritize values, and we gotta, look at things again. Excessive focus on money and striving for this, opulence. It doesn't bring anybody a good life. Prioritizing values such as relationships we brought up, personal growth, and contributing to the greater good can honestly lead to a more fulfilling and harmonious life. I have enjoyed in talking to you about this, and yes, folks, I'm actually trying to convince her to come on the show a whole lot more often. And I think that we would have a ball because now on this subject, you have to admit, Miko, that we feel the same exact way. But I think you guys will have a lot of fun because on a lot of other subjects, we think on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be entertaining and
Yeah.
fun, and I'd look forward to more times. Please come back to see
Oh, I definitely will. I love debates.
us. Well, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
In the United States, high school signals the beginning of secondary education. It holds a place of great importance in students' educational careers. Thus, success in high school is often an indicator of a higher quality of life. Due to the sheer size of the U.S. population, there are a significant number of high schools and high school students. Therefore, what we're going to look at is a well rounded view of what's going on in our school systems. It's estimated that 16,892,000 students will be enrolled in high school in just last year. And 15,492,000 of these students will be in public high schools. That's roughly 10%. Now, we're projected to have the highest enrollments this year in 2023 with 17,288,000 students in public and private schools. Among these schools are some of the highest ranked ones. We have the Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology in Virginia. It's ranked the best high school in the U.S. Then you have Lincroft's High Technology High School, ranked as the best STEM high school in the nation. Massachusetts has the highest number of top ranking high schools, with 49.6% of schools in the top 25%. Nebraska and Maine ranked at the bottom with only 5.8% and 3.6% of schools appearing in the top 25%. Now, what does all of this tell us? Well, the fact that we have 26,727 high schools in the U.S. 2,845 of these are private schools, and we just mentioned some of the ones that's in the top ranking. The state of California has 3,892 high schools, which is the highest number of high schools within any one state. The state of Delaware has only 83 high schools, which is the lowest number of high schools in the state. And although the District of Columbia is not a state, it does have 72 high schools as well. And then when we begin to look at our demographics, our U.S. high schools rank 115th globally in terms of gender parity, meaning that we have slightly fewer girls than boys being enrolled in our schools. 47% of our students are white, 27% are Hispanic, 15% are black, and 11% were other races. It's important to note that the number of teachers that we have currently employed in the United States have professional qualifications that are exceeding other nations. We have 1.8 million high school teachers. What are the demographics of them? Well, we have 64% of high school teachers who are female. 90% of those teachers held a standard teaching certificate or advanced professional certificate. 61% held master's degrees. 40% of teachers had 10 to 20 years of teaching experience. 9% of teachers had less than 3 years of teaching experience, whereas 45% of high schools had teachers with specialists or academic coaching assignments as well. Now, you're listening to all these statistics and you're going, where are we going with this? Because usually, when we get to this segment, we start talking about the problems. If you've noticed, I have not mentioned a single problem. In the U.S., we're doing well with our high schools. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but look at the numbers I just gave. We even have more numbers, such as our literacy score, where we have the literacy score of 15-year-olds higher than it was just a few years ago. Our math literacy scores are slightly lower than a little bit ago, just slightly. But our science is way higher than it was a year or two ago. 89% of our high school students completed Algebra 2 or higher, with 19% finishing calculus or higher. 79% of students look to at least one general science course, with 21% taking at least one advanced science course. 98% of our students took biology, with 76% taking chemistry, 41% took physics. 40% of our students earn credits in computer and information technology. And we continue to go on and on with the accolades that we get down to our graduation rates. It's estimated that 3.6 million students will graduate from high school this year. The national graduation rate is currently 85.3%, which is an all-time high. 52% of states' graduation rates actually increased. 79% of Black students, 81% of Hispanic students, and 89.7% of Caucasian students graduated on time. Black student graduation rates have increased by 12%. Hispanic students increased by 10%. The graduation rate for students with disabilities is even around 67%. And as you know, with all those graduations, then what happened to our dropout rates? Well, the high school dropout rates have fallen. Yes, that was a sharp decline. We had been up to 15% at one point, Now we're lower than 6%. And we're starting to see that go even as we look at each of the races and the sexes. The black youths and dropout rate went from 21% to 6%. Hispanics from 36% dropouts to 9. Caucasians from 12% to 5%. 7% of all students who dropped out were male, 8% who dropped out were born to US born parents, and we still have our foreign born students dropping out around 16%. But overall, we are improving. The American education system is improving over time. There are more students graduating and fewer students dropping out than ever before in U.S. history. Yes, it's starting to come around, people, that we're starting to see that our American students are equally as literate as students in many other countries around the world. Yes, 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 there is considerable room for improvement in the education system in areas of gender and race equality. And this is especially true for advanced placement and STEM courses that can be indicative of the tertiary education success. Additionally, the structure must also work to help individuals with disabilities and boost the graduation rates across the board. These improvements will lead to an educational system that embraces equality and educational success. Yet, we are seeing the difference. We want to speak on our success. Graduation rates are up, dropout rates are down, and we are having positive aspects, which leads us to a now positive question, a good question. How did we get here? As I was leaving the counter of a coffee shop, I looked at my cup of coffee, and on top was my initials, beautifully and artistically put right there on the top of my cup of coffee. Absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. I'm like, how did you do this? I've seen people with hearts in their coffee, and different creative and satisfying works of art. Well, it's called latte art. And that's our special interest, our hobby for today. Latte art. What will you need in order to learn latte art? Well, first, you've got to get your tools together. You're going to need an espresso machine with a steam wand, fresh espresso beans, milk, a pitcher, and espresso cups. We want to use high quality espresso beans and fresh milk for better results. Then learn how to make a good espresso shot because it's the very foundation of latte art. Froth the milk to create microfoam. This involves heating and texturing the milk, but avoid creating large bubbles. Start with basic designs like a heart I mentioned, or a simple tulip. Pour the frothed milk slowly and steadily into the espresso. Contrast between the espresso and milk is essential for a clear design. Dark espresso and white milk work well together. There are many latte art tutorials online, and watching experienced baristas can be very helpful. Like with any skill, practice makes perfect. Don't get discouraged if your first attempts aren't quite perfect because latte art is about creativity. We shouldn't try to limit ourselves, but we want to try new designs and techniques. Continue to have fun. Then we want to share these creations with friends and on social media. It's a great way to get feedback and connect with other latte art enthusiasts. Remember, this takes time to master. So be patient and enjoy the process. Happy pouring. To go along with our beginning subject, For the Love of Money, we're going to actually read the lyrics to the song For the Love of Money by the OJs, some fellow Buckeyes out there, the OJs, because the song really fits our podcast and it really has a positive message. It says, some people got to have it. Some people really need it. Listen to me. Why y'all do bad things with it. You want to do things, good things with it. We're talking about cash money. Talking about dollar bills. Why y'all, for the love of money, steal from their mother? For the love of money, people will rob their own brother. For the love of money, people can't even walk the street because they never know who in the world they're going to be. For that lean, mean green. Almighty dollar. Money. For the love of money, people will lie. Lord, they will cheat. For the love of money, people don't care who they hurt or beat. For the love of money, a woman will sell her precious body. For a small piece of paper, it carries a lot of weight. Call it lean, mean green. Almighty dollar. I know money is the root of all evil. Do funny things to some people. Give me a nickel, brother. Can you spare a dime? Money can drive some people out of their mind. Gotta have it. I really need it. How many things have I heard you say? Some people really need it. How many things have you heard said? Got to have it. I really need it. How many things have I heard you say? Lay down. Lay down. A woman will lay down for the love of money. All for the love of money. Don't let money rule. For the love of money. Money can change people sometimes. Don't let money fool. Money can fool people sometimes. People don't let money change. It will keep on changing up your mind. How true it is with what we see around us today and the love that people have for money. As we know, it's not money itself, but as we mentioned in our podcast, it's that love of money that causes ruination. But money also is necessary to keep the bills paid. And with that said, on Cash App, $ Live Laugh Talk Twitter, and Live Laugh Talker, and on Spotify, you can donate some of that precious money to keep the podcast going. Yes, there are expenses that come about, and we could use each and every dollar that you could spare would be appreciated. Other ways that you could aid the podcast is follow us. I just found out that some of you I send out text messages of the podcast. And then I found out that for some reason the code that Spotify had provided me wasn't getting to you people for weeks. But you know what? For those of you who are following the podcast, it didn't matter. You already knew of the updates of the shows. For those of you who have not, please follow so that my text message is just redundant. You already know of the new show. Also, when you listen to the show, go on to your podcast platform and rate us the highest score possible. In addition, there's on Etsy.com, How Did We Get Here? We're working on those hats now, but we already got t-shirts, we already got coffee mugs, we already got tote bags. And this is a way for you to wear the swag, carry the swag. That way your friends, family, colleagues find out about this. You could be that person in the office. There's always that one person who knows about the hottest podcast. And this is the hottest one. Also, this is James and George's baby boy signing off. And as you know, I can't wait to talk with you again soon.